what if I told you that the last major decision you made wasn't actually made by you?
I mean, that sounds completely crazy right off the bat.
Right. Like, think about who you just hired for your team or, what stock you put in your portfolio, even just what you watched on TV last night.
Yeah, you feel like you're the one in control.
Exactly. You click the buy button, you hit play,
Yeah.
but did you really make the choice?
Well, it sounds like a conspiracy theory at first glance.
Mm.
But if you look at the actual architecture of modern decision-making, it is a very real structural reality.
And that is the perfect entry point for today's deep dive. Welcome in, everyone.
Glad to be here.
So we hear this constantly, right? Like, AI is going to replace human judgment. The machines are taking over the steering wheel.
Yeah, it's the classic sci-fi panic.
But if you actually observe the world around you, that hasn't happened. People still make the hiring decisions. Investors allocate capital. Consumers still choose their purchases.
Right. Humans are undeniably still responsible for the final decisions.
So what is actually shifting underneath our feet? Because something is definitely changing.
That is the core question. And the central thesis in our stack of sources today, which includes this fascinating GOA-46 framework on decision externalization, plus some observation models on how we read reality, it all points to one thing.
Okay, lay it on me.
We are looking at the wrong part of the process. We are not outsourcing our judgment. We are outsourcing the terrain that precedes our judgment.
Okay, wait, I have to push back there just a little bit just to represent the skeptic here.
Sure, go for it.
Say I open my music app, right? And I tell it to play some jazz. It gives me 3 brilliant jazz playlists to pick from. I still chose jazz.
You did?
And I still clicked the playlist I wanted. So how is the terrain being outsourced if I am just giving the system a prompt and getting what I asked for?
Well, that's the trick, isn't it? The point of action hasn't changed. You still click the button. But think about the mechanism that happens between your prompt and your choice.
You mean all the hidden filtering?
Exactly. The algorithm didn't just find jazz. It actively shaped what became visible to you. It decided which artists were comparable.
Oh, I see.
It completely defined what was even considered worth your time out of millions of possible tracks. The system didn't make your final decision, but it generated the entire landscape from which your decision could possibly emerge.
Okay, so it's like sitting down at a massive world-class restaurant.
Yes, perfect analogy. But instead of giving you the actual menu...
They just hand you a tiny card with 3 dishes on it.
Exactly.
And the waiter says, well, based on your historical data, your biometrics, and people who look like you, pick one of these 3.
Right. And you walk out thinking you made a completely independent choice.
I'm like, great, I chose the chicken, I have free will. But man, if they never showed me the steak, I couldn't order the steak.
No, you couldn't.
That waiter just secretly controlled my entire diet without me ever realizing it.
And they did it under the guise of providing a helpful service. That's the genius and, the danger of this shift.
It's sneaky.
But we also have to understand the why behind this. I mean, this isn't necessarily some malicious plot. The sources emphasize that it is a forced adaptation to information overload.
Because there's just too much stuff now.
Way too much.
Yeah.
The sheer volume of data, the infinite number of options available to us daily, has vastly exceeded human cognitive capacity. You literally cannot evaluate every jazz track ever recorded.
Yeah, no one has that kind of bandwidth.
No one does. So to survive and just to maintain any level of operational efficiency, we had to externalize the generation of options.
We outsourced the filtering.
Right. We essentially told our digital infrastructure, please don't make the final choice for me because I like my autonomy. But please filter the universe down to a manageable list.
But doing that comes with a massive blind spot, doesn't it? Because what happens to all the other items on that giant restaurant menu?
They don't just sit there waiting to be found.
Right. The options that the algorithm decides not to generate for you become effectively invisible.
They do. It's phase 3 in the GOA-46 text. And think about what humanity loses in that invisible landscape.
We lose the weird stuff.
Yeah. We lose roundabout explorations. We lose serendipitous discoveries, like the chance of ordering something totally bizarre that you didn't even know you liked.
Just because the predictive model didn't think you would like it based on your past.
Exactly. If a system is only generating options based on optimized efficiency and your historical data, you aren't actually exploring the future.
You're just trapped in a loop.
A highly curated feedback loop of your own past, cleverly disguised as a free choice.
That is genuinely unsettling to think about. It's not that our options were taken away by force. It's that the terrain itself was terraformed so heavily that alternative paths just don't exist in our field of vision anymore.
They're functionally gone.
Okay, if our brains are trapped in this hyper-efficient, pre-filtered sorting loop all day, what does that actually do to our cognitive state over time?
This is where the observation frameworks in our sources, specifically the LMOS texts, offer a stark warning.
Okay, what do they say?
They say that when information is perfectly packaged and options are highly filtered, we develop something called rapid meaning fixation.
Rapid meaning fixation, so like jumping to conclusions, but systematized.
That is a really great way to put it. Here is how the mechanism works. Because information and narratives and AI summarized explanations are coming at us much faster than our brains can actually digest them.
We just can't keep up.
Right. We stop truly understanding complex things. Instead, we just fix their meaning.
We lock it in.
We lock them into place immediately so we can move on to the next input. You swallow the 3 bullet points provided by the AI summary,
Yep.
and you experience a little dopamine hit that makes you feel informed.
Oh, man. So we mistake the speed of an explanation for actual depth of comprehension.
Precisely. We end up carrying around these rigid, fixed worldviews rather than maintaining a genuine, evolving understanding of a messy world.
Just because it's faster.
Yeah, and this leads directly to a massive secondary problem. The sources describe this using the concept of shear.
Shear. Like wind shear.
No.
Or like structural shear in engineering.
Exactly like structural shear. In physics, shear is the friction and tension created when two parts of a material are pushed in opposite directions, or they're moving at wildly different speeds.
Okay.
The texts apply this directly to society. We have a massive speed difference between two fundamental layers of reality. First, we have the narrative layer. Let's call it the N layer.
What's that include?
That's the speed of human conversation, social media trends, digital news cycles.
Which operates essentially at the speed of light.
Right. But then we have the operational system layer, or the OS layer. This is physical reality. This is how actual institutions adapt, how physical supply chains move cargo across oceans.
How crops actually grow.
Exactly. Or how bureaucratic legislation is actually drafted and implemented.
So the narrative is moving at light speed, but the physical world is still moving at the speed of a cargo ship.
Yes, and that gap creates immense tension against reality.
Oh, I can see.
Imagine a viral narrative on social media that causes millions of people to suddenly demand a specific product or, withdraw their money from a specific bank within hours.
A total run on the bank.
Right. The N layer is flying. But the OS layer, the physical factories producing the product or the actual liquid assets of the bank, cannot possibly match that speed.
They just can't move that fast.
No. And that friction is called membrane tension. We are living in a constant state of high friction because our cognitive maps are updating incredibly fast. But the territory they represent is lumbering along at its normal physical pace.
Which means we're constantly colliding with reality.
Constantly.
And because the algorithm is feeding us perfectly packaged, high-speed options just to keep up with the narrative, we're losing what the sources refer to as breath density, right? We're losing the cooling time.
We absolutely are. Breath density is that cognitive margin that allows us to actually think critically.
Like taking a step back.
Yeah. We are training reobservability. The ability to sit quietly with a complex idea, turn it over, look at it from different angles,
Yeah.
and maybe even change our minds. We trade that for instant synchronization.
Just so we don't fall behind.
Right. We feel this immense, almost biological pressure to immediately align with a viewpoint, just to keep up with the sheer velocity of the feed. We sacrifice the space to breathe and reflect, solely so we can stay synchronized with the machine's output.
Okay, let's look at the physical and societal toll of that. Because if you, as an individual listener, are running purely on these high-speed, pre-filtered, highly synchronized loops where you're never taking a breath.
It's exhausting.
Right. What happens to your biology? We have to burn out eventually, don't we?
We do, but it doesn't happen the way most people think.
How do you mean?
It doesn't look like a sudden dramatic collapse. The membrane contact phase models, or MCP, outline a state called chronic depolarization.
Okay, talk me through that.
To understand the mechanics of this, think about how a nerve cell functions in the human body.
Okay, biology 101, let's do it.
When a nerve cell fires a signal, that is called depolarization. The electrical charge changes.
Right.
But after it fires, it fundamentally requires a tiny fraction of a second to reset its internal chemistry. That's repolarization. It needs that before it can possibly fire again.
So it needs to rest and reload.
It has to. But when a system is highly efficient, constantly processing data and acting without any capacity for repolarization, it doesn't just stop working.
It keeps going.
It keeps going, but it enters a state of chronic exhaustion. It becomes hypersensitive to even the most minor stimuli.
Oh, wow.
It's constantly reacting, and it remains in a state of perpetual low-grade inflammation.
I think we all know exactly what that feels like. I mean, it feels like doom scrolling on a 24/7 social media feed.
Yeah.
Or just trying to navigate a hyper-connected professional environment.
It's the modern condition.
Yeah, we aren't necessarily having a total societal breakdown every single Tuesday, but we are permanently exhausted. We are rigid. And this connects to a concept the sources call hysteresis, right?
Yes, hysteresis is the hidden variable here. It is essentially the lingering distortion or the memory of stress left behind in a system.
Wait, can you explain how a system remembers tension?
Think of a rubber band.
Okay.
If you stretch a rubber band to its absolute limit, hold it there for a month and then let it go, it doesn't snap back to its original tight shape.
Well, it stays kind of stretched out and deformed.
Exactly. It stays slightly loose. The rubber band experiences hysteresis. In a cognitive or societal sense, because we are chronically depolarized, the stress stays in our system.
The baseline changes.
Right. So even if a new piece of information isn't actually a threat, the system wildly overreacts because it is still inflamed from yesterday's news cycle.
Okay, that makes so much sense. It is exactly like when you've been working 80-hour weeks under massive stress and someone at home asks you a totally innocent question like, hey, did you buy milk? And you just snap at them.
You just blow up.
Yeah. It was never about the milk, it's the hysteresis. It's the accumulated distortion of your nervous system over the last month.
That is a brilliant everyday example of a localized hysteresis effect. You lacked the breath density to repolarize, so a tiny input triggered a massive response.
So the million-dollar question then is, how do we cure this? How do we build systems or just live our own lives in a way that doesn't leave us chronically inflamed?
The sources introduce a mechanism called the fluctuation stability extension, and this deeply challenges a very common assumption we hold in modern society.
Which is?
We tend to think that total synchronization, everyone being on the exact same page, perfect efficiency, zero friction, no wasted time, is the absolute definition of stability.
Yeah, of course. A well-oiled machine. That's what every company and individual strives for.
But the updated V1.2 model argues that complete synchronization actually destroys adaptability. It is a death sentence for long-term survival.
Wait, really?
Yes. True stability isn't rigid like a rock. It is fluid. A healthy, enduring system requires what they call fluctuation density.
Fluctuation density. What does that actually look like in practice outside of an academic paper?
Let's look at the engineering of a suspension bridge.
Okay.
If a bridge is built to be completely 100% rigid with zero give, a strong enough wind or a minor earthquake will snap it in half.
It needs to sway.
It has to have give. Fluctuation density is the societal sway.
I see. So inefficiency is literally the wiggle room that prevents collapse.
Exactly. It looks like diversity of thought. It looks like unrectified noise, redundancy, and play. It is the margin of error.
Having multiple messy ways of doing things.
Right, at a local level. Let's say every single major corporation in the world uses the exact same highly optimized AI to manage their global supply chains.
They're perfectly synchronized.
Perfectly. If a single unexpected crisis hits, say, a novel virus or a canal blockage, and that AI encounters a bug, the entire global economy crashes simultaneously.
But if there's fluctuation,
If there are thousands of different companies using thousands of different, slightly inefficient methods, the system as a whole can absorb the shock and adapt.
that completely flips how we usually think about progress. I mean, we spend all our time trying to optimize our lives, trying to eliminate the noise and cut out the friction to be more productive.
But this model is telling us that the noise is actually the shock absorber.
The noise is what keeps the engine from vibrating itself to pieces.
Exactly, which leads to a profound redefinition of the concept of care.
Care. Like empathy.
Well, in these frameworks, care isn't just an emotion. It isn't just a warm feeling of empathy for someone else. Care is defined as a structural, operational act.
How so?
It is the deliberate effort required to maintain this liquid stability. Care is the work of maintaining recovery capacity, preserving the margins, and intentionally keeping options fluid rather than letting them become fixed and rigid.
Wow, care is the infrastructure of recovery. I love that. I want to take that a step further, though, and look at the power dynamics here.
Let's do it.
Because if all of this is true, if we are outsourcing the generation of our options to achieve a dangerous level of efficiency, how does this change the way power actually operates in the real world?
We have to look at how these patterns map across business strategy, government policy, media consumption. it becomes abundantly clear that the battlefield has fundamentally moved.
Yeah, the sources make a really bold claim here in Phase 5. They state that the competition is no longer about who has the best judgment.
Right.
It is entirely about who controls the generation of choices.
And this connects to the LMOS concept of power gradients. A gradient is just a directional pressure. It's where things naturally flow, like water down a hill.
Okay, so where is the power flowing today?
The real power lies squarely with the entity that defines the terrain. Let's put this in a corporate boardroom to see how it works mechanically.
Okay, paint the picture.
Imagine a CEO of a Fortune 500 company sitting in front of a highly advanced AI strategy dashboard. This dashboard is incredible.
The ultimate tool.
Right. It analyzes millions of data points across the global supply chain, shifting market trends, geopolitical risks, internal performance metrics.
Stuff a human could never process.
Exactly. The AI processes all of this impossibly complex data and generates exactly 3 key metrics and 2 strategic options for the CEO to consider.
So the CEO looks at those 2 options, makes a decision, and thinks, well, I am the leader. I made the final call. The power resides with me.
Right. But if that AI system only generates those specific options, the AI has essentially dictated the boundaries of the company's entire strategy before the CEO even opened their mouth.
Because they only saw what the AI let them see.
Exactly. The power doesn't sit in the leather chair making the final choice. The power sits in the algorithm that restricted the menu. The entity that controls the option generation layer controls the power gradient.
So we're shifting from a judgment competition where the winner is whoever can make the smartest decision with the exact same set of facts to a choice generation competition.
Yes.
The winner is whoever gets to decide which facts even make it onto the table in the first place.
That's it.
And as a consumer or a voter or just a citizen navigating the digital world, if you don't realize this is happening, you are just blindly running a maze that someone else built.
Completely unaware of all the alternative paths they permanently walled off.
That is the invisible landscape in action.
And we see it everywhere. It happens in how search algorithms serve you news. It happens in how financial markets structure investment vehicles. And it happens in the tools we use to work.
And if those options are artificially narrowed just to maintain high-speed synchronization, we lose our civilizational adaptability.
We lose that fluid stability we were talking about, the kind that comes from having a wide, messy, diverse set of choices to pull from when the unexpected happens.
Okay, let's bring this all together. We started this deep dive by observing a profound structural shift. Humanity is not necessarily outsourcing its judgment to machines. Rather, we are outsourcing the terrain that precedes judgment.
That's the key takeaway.
Right. By letting algorithms and systems filter out the noise to hand us perfectly efficient options on a silver platter, we aren't just saving time. We are blinding ourselves to the broader landscape.
And we're doing it at the cost of chronic cognitive exhaustion.
Right.
We are losing the cooling time we need to actually comprehend the world, mistaking the speed of an AI summary for genuine understanding.
Exactly. We're trading the fluid, messy fluctuations, the redundancies, the play, the sway and the bridge that actually keep our society and our own minds adaptable.
We trade it all for convenience.
We're so focused on the little card with the 3 choices the waiter handed us that we are forgetting the rest of the kitchen even exists.
Which means the challenge for all of us is to actively resist the comfort of perfect efficiency.
And that is incredibly hard to do because efficiency feels productive,
Yeah.
It feels safe. But I think this leaves us with a really powerful reflection. If the options presented to you every day on your phone, in your meetings, in your media consumption, are just a curated menu designed for frictionless efficiency, what possibilities remain outside the options you're shown?
What incredibly valuable, inefficient, messy discoveries are currently hiding in your blind spots?
Right.
And how can you actively reintroduce a little bit of noise and a little bit of fluctuation into your own life to ensure you are seeing the whole landscape rather than just the highly synchronized path that's been cleared for you?
Keep that question open the next time you're handed a menu. We'll catch you on the next Deep Dive.